Okay, this is video 3 for Shoreline Calvary sound practice training. We're back to the soundboard. Last time we talked about how to do the mixing by looking at the instrument and then making the adjustment with the faders. Either on the individual channels, I can select those here with this button. You know, all the channels switch between 1 through 16 and 17 through 32 here. Or what I like to do, especially once we're done with rehearsal and we're in the actual service, is I just control the overall mix here. I can adjust the keyboards or the guitars or the vocals with very slight adjustments. From song to song, things change a little bit. Sometimes, like if the lead vocal is singing in a lower octave, I might need to boost the vocals a bit. Because the volume isn't as high, but then when she goes to a very high octave, it can be too loud. So then I need to pull it back down, right? So I can just make very fine-tuned adjustments here. I'm usually only moving this like a few millimeters, very, very small movements. And I can adjust, as we talked about, these different groups of instruments. And the two groups that we didn't spend a lot of time on is the speaker and the media. The speak group controls all the microphones for the speakers, usually for preachers or announcements or things like that. So you can see the names here for the different channels. There's two wireless mics that look like this. There's a battery on the bottom. That's where we change a 9-volt battery. And then there's a switch up here on the top, which is how the speaker controls whether it's on or not. And you can hear that buzzing maybe that just started happening because that was on. And there's actually a battery indicator there so they can monitor their own battery when they first plug it in and get it wired up. And then they put this on their face. So that's one style of microphone that's wireless, which is gonna be channel 25 and 26. There's two of these, Lab 1 and Lab 2. And then those are, again, going through these wireless controllers, right? So the two on the bottom are that Shure system, which has that style of wireless mic. Now the other kind of mic is usually right here next to the soundboard, and this is what we call the handheld mic. And if I turn this on, there's a blue light and just a quick indicator of the battery level. Actually, I can't really see the battery level. We don't change the battery in this very often, so usually it's not a problem. It's not something we check regularly. But that goes to this channel here, channel 27, handheld 1. We don't actually have a handheld 2, so we have this extra channel here, but it's generally I just leave that muted because I don't know which mic was on that originally. But one of the little tricky things is if you need to use this microphone, there's one other step that you have to take, and you can see on this bank here that the bottom two green lights are on, but the top one is dead right now. There's actually a power button. This one does not power up automatically with the system like the other two do. Right here, there's a power button, and I just click it on, and now we see these blue lights here, and that indicates that it's on. And the way we can tell that the switch has been turned on, I'm gonna just turn on the switch here, is we see a green light that pops on. So now, because that is on, we can hear in the microphone now that there's volume. Now I'm gonna turn it off, and we can see that that goes off. It actually has a middle setting, which is on this switch, there's actually 2 clicks. It goes 1 click up, that's like a muted setting. And then if I go all the way on with 1 more click, then that green light comes on and it's hot. So I can actually turn it off, but still have the power on the microphone. That's too subtle for most people. So they usually just click the whole thing on or off, which is fine. Okay, so that's the wireless mics. And as you can see, that's 25, 26, and 27. And then on here, there's little white tabs that show you 27, 26. That one should say 25. I just noticed that. Oh, there we go, 27. 25, 26, and 27. So that's how I remember which one is wired up to where. Okay, so now we have the overall philosophies for how to set the gain first by watching the blinking lights, set the faders to mix the sound by looking at the instruments and then making sure that it sounds nice, that the lead vocal and lead instrument are the most prominent things that we hear, and that we've blended in all the background instruments so you can still hear them, but they're not overwhelming the primary. And then we can make fine-tuned adjustments for each song here very nicely, unless we need to make a change to an individual instrument or vocal. We can quickly switch to that and then come over here and make an adjustment here. Maybe I can't hear one of these background vocalists. I don't want to turn up the lead vocal anymore because that's loud enough, but I just need to turn up like one of the background singers. Then I can quickly select that group and come over here and make that change. I can also just, go directly to the channel and find that channel and make the same change here. It's all the same. It's just kind of organizing how we're seeing it and how we can navigate to things. Okay, so that is where we're at. Now there's other details that we need to get into. The next kind of like fine-grained, like we've done a very wide setting with the gain. That's like a big channel that controls the input. Then the fader is the next level that controls how much volume that we're hearing within that gain setting that we've done. The next level after that is the equalizer. So the equalizer helps us to fine-tune the channel even more, not from a volume perspective, but just for how it sounds. And I'm going to press this view button. Now notice I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see the screen. The view button will change what we see on the display. So if I press this view button, we're now going to see the equalizer. So over here on the equalizer, we are controlling which frequencies get highlighted and which frequencies get kind of pulled out of the sound. And the way that we do this is there's 4 different levels that we can set. There's a high mid, and low, right? And those are represented by these boxes here. There's a blue, a yellow, a pink, and an orange. This is low, mid, high, and high. And so when we select one of these buttons, then we can both slide these around, move them back and forth, and we can adjust like whether it's going to go up and down, and we can adjust the width of how much range that we want to adjust in the equalizer. So let me just show you quickly. If I press high, there's not as much control that I have on the high. It's almost like the low and the high are more of an adjustment of how much there is. So this bottom knob here controls how much you're going to pull out or put in, and the width moves where it is, right? So I can, if I go like this, I'm basically cutting out all the sound, and it's not going to sound very nice because I'll have to boost the volume up so high. It just won't make sense for anything, right? So you don't want to pull out too much stuff or else you don't get enough volume. But this top button just doesn't do anything on high, right? So we will see more of an effect when we go to the next one. We go to high mid, and let's see what channel. Okay, I'm selected on this channel 15, Andy Vox. And now I can move this back and forth with the second button. So that's one adjustment I can make. This one now, on the high it didn't do anything, this top button, but now we can see it's affecting the width. So I can pull out just a very specific frequency. This is right now right around 2K, so 2000 megahertz or whatever. Or I can make it more broad so that it's actually pulling out kind of all the frequencies around that with this curve pattern, right? So that's those 2 buttons. One moves it back and forth, and the top one is gonna adjust the width. And then this one will be like the amplitude. Like, do I want to actually insert that frequency and have more of it, or do I want to pull it out because it's making a naughty sound? And that's what this bottom button does. Or bottom knob. It's like they call it frequency or gain, I guess it is. But think of it as like whether you're going to put volume in for that frequency or pull volume out for that frequency. And this is how we pull out some of the noises that are sounding very hollow or very flat or very kind of echoey or causing feedback. Primarily what we do is we pull things out. We usually don't amplify things. Every once in a while we will for a special singer or something, but we want to be able to pull out those naughty sounds that just make it sound, I don't know how to describe it. It just sounds yucky. And so the way we find it, that yucky sound when we're adjusting this, is we actually amplify it, and you can make this very narrow, and then we look for the naughty sound. So I can move this along until it's like either causing some feedback, or it's very like hollow and gross sounding. Then I say, oh, I found that frequency right there, and then I pull it down, and now I can pull that annoying sound out. And then if it's not quite pulling everything out that I want, then I can start making it wider. So this is kind of the process that we go through when we're equalizing a channel. And that's like the lowest level settings that we make is now in this equalizer. The other thing I want to make a comment about here is the low. So the low cut has two kind of settings. One is I can kind of adjust it here, right? And it will move things around. Oh, it's actually another setting. There's low and then low cut. So I'm in the low frequency now. I can have that set here, for example, and maybe I want to boost a little bit of low there for whatever reason. Okay, but then there's this low cut, which I can control here. You can see it says low cut here. And as I move this, I can actually introduce more of the bass frequencies there. Right? What low cut is allowing us to do is cut out anything that's lower than that frequency. So we see right here it's between 60 and 80. Anything less than that is just not going to come through the system, right? For those really low poppy noises, for example. Since this is actually a male vocalist, I'm going to actually, this should be set a little bit higher here. And I'm going to go back to low and pull that back down to just even for now. And perhaps this male singer, you'll see when they're singing it'll dance, the different frequencies will dance here, and you'll see that there's a lot of frequencies in that range. We don't necessarily want to cut all of those out, or else that male vocalist will have a tinny sound because they don't have enough bass in their sound. Okay, one other thing I want to show about this, for example, is I'm going to go to the drums. I went over here to input 2, and there's a kick drum here. So I'm going to select this channel. That's going to change this. And I found that the default settings for this kick drum have the low cut way over here. But then when I'm watching the signal, I'm seeing a lot of sound over in this area that we're missing out on. So what I've been doing lately is just pulling this all the way back to about there, and then I can see that it's getting all of these sound bumps in this range, and it actually sounds much fuller. I just discovered this a couple weeks ago, and I got compliments from a couple people who said, oh, the drum sounded really good today. So I think having that low cut way back on this kick drum is way better. If you think about a kick drum, it's making a very booming sound. It's a boom, 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 which is almost all bass. So it doesn't make sense to cut out all that rich bass sound that we're getting from the kick drum. Okay, so in this session 3, we've talked about how to do the equalizer. We did the fine tuning on the mixing. We've figured out how to do the equalizer. There's several other things on here that we could talk about, but for now, that will do it for video 3. Thank you.